Welcome, horror fam, to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. My name is Mike, and as always, I'm here with my co-hosts, Duff, Jess, and Jonathan. Guys, it is Christmas morning. This is why we do this podcast, what we're feeling right now.
I'm overwhelmed.
I know.
I live for moments like this. Oh, God.
We have so much to go over, but before we get to it, as always, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN365 and on TikTok at HHN365pod. We have an amazing Discord. The link is in the description, and we have a merch shop at HHN365.com, and you can always leave us a voicemail at 407-906-4134. On today's show, we are going to probably focus in the entire show on the announcements that we got from Halloween Horror Nights, both Orlando and Hollywood. It's going to be spoilerific, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's hop right into it.
Yeah, definitely. So first, we should state, not only will it be HHN specific, we are purposely going to leave out any other haunt announcements that have occurred, such as Knott's, and give them more of a dedicated episode.
Fright Fest,
next
Knott's.
week. So
there's been a lot of stuff.
So because Fright Fest did some wild shit.
But
next week we can let those announcements shine because HHN, we're HHN 365. So yeah. So let's just get right into it then. Rather than starting with the huge stuff, the houses and zones, there were a few additional experiences announced, specifically from HHN Orlando. The first of which that dropped the morning of the announcements is the Taste of Terror Dining, which is an event that I think caught us all off guard. None of us expected this to happen. One, we haven't had something quite like this. Two, it's before the event starts.
Yeah.
A little crazy. But before we really dive into that, here's what they have to say about it. Get your first bite of fright with an all-you-care-to-enjoy preview of select Halloween Horror Nights food and drinks before the event season starts. Select nights August 10th through 26th. Theme park admission for the same day is required and not included. So what this will include is going to be non-alcoholic and alcoholic beverages, one souvenir Halloween Horror Nights Light Up cup, one Coca-Cola Freestyle cup, and one digital download of a photo taken during the experience. All the food, as they mentioned, is care to enjoy, and that will be in kind of sample-sized portions.
It's
Go ahead.
definitely an interesting experience. Like we said, we've never really seen something like this before. It's something before the event starts. I think it's a really cool idea, especially to try a lot of the food, so you know what you want to focus. You only get so much time at the event and so much money, so what you want to focus your money on and buy during the event compared to what you kind of like. I don't need to buy that. But my only issue here is the actual price point. It's a lot for what it is.
Yeah, we haven't announced that yet.
Yeah, I purposely left that part out for now. I was trying to build suspense.
That's an elephant in the room.
Everyone, take a guess at what you think it is when you're listening right now. What do you think it is?
Times it by 3, whatever you're thinking.
I would say a very nice, reasonable price for this, realistically, would be like $99.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone guess? Bad. Everyone got it in? Yeah, it's not $99.
No.
It's $159.
Whew.
Yikes.
Wow, I mean, everyone kind of said this online, and I know we talked about this like privately. They did this to capitalize on the YouTubers and all of those people who hang out hoping for the tents to do a little preview. And now they just found a way to monetize it. So, good for them.
It's smart. And no knock to the people who do it, because it's like, even if you are doing it for YouTube, like, you're finding a way to get an advantage for your channel. That's great. Yeah. That's awesome. For us, that price point's a little steep, and we're probably going to avoid that because we will be eating and drinking those items during the event regardless. So it's not like, I know a lot of people have brought up like, oh, but you can save money by eating it then instead of during the event. But I'm going to eat it again during the event. Even like the foods I don't really like, I usually try again. So is it going to save me money? No, not really.
No. Do we know how long the event is?
It's like 2 hours.
Yep.
2 hours? Mm-hmm. For 100? They got me fucked up. I'm sorry. That is like, I know that's, okay, let's compare it to like what? Like a fireworks dessert party, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not getting. Are you getting a show? No,
No.
you're just in a soundstage.
There is no announced entertainment, but it does say obviously there will be photos taken. So I assume there will be, whether it's just sets or there will be like a scare actor they bring out or something. I think that's probably about it.
I suspect this is going to be like a media night type of event, but they're charging for it. That's what I'm thinking. Is that all the people who normally get invited to like a media event where they do like a little preview and have samples of things, they just decided to do it for a couple of weeks long and charge for it. Like that's what I get in my head. It's going to be, there might be a little, tiny little show. The icon, what we'll get to in a second, will probably come out and do a little thing, but you're mostly there paying to sample the food and drink.
Actually, that's a really good shout out to what it might be. Funny that you bring that part up too, because one other notable thing is this will take place in Soundstage 33, which is where in the past media nights have taken place. So I wonder if media event goes back to Soundstage 33 this year.
Oh.
And with the way you just described it, Mike, maybe this is literally just like, well, we're going to do it one night. Let's make money off it some other nights too.
Exactly. That's all this is. They're just like, oh, we're going to charge the YouTubers the money to do this, so we don't actually have to, we can.
And the thing is, we know it's going to get eaten up for like content purposes. So I think the first couple days, it's going to do well. I wonder how well that's going to sustain over its more than 2-week run, which is pretty crazy.
I think it'll do well. I mean, I don't know. I mean, people eat this type of stuff up. I have a feeling that will probably be sold out every time.
You think so?
Okay. I do. I mean, they could probably charge whatever they want for this type of stuff. I don't know. Like, there's the exclusiveness of it. It's limited. It's hyped for this, event, and then not even to mention the content creators. It's going to be packed. I don't think I'm going to partake, but I think this is going to be packed.
Okay. I mean, I don't want it to fail, so I hope you're right. I think it's cool in the sense that whether you do it or not, you will be able to kind of get a preview of what's coming to the event via YouTube, Twitter, whatever it may be, from content creators experiencing that. I like that. That'll kind of get that full preview of food and drink, especially that early. Like it starts just 10 days into August. Like that's pretty early to know all the food and drinks, and not just know it, but actually see what it really looks like and get reviews of if it's good or not. So
it's definitely going to help the lead up to the event, especially since we know everything now, basically. There's going to be things that, we learn more about zones as things pop up and more info about houses and whatnot. But according to the, least regards to the lineup, we know pretty much everything that's happening besides maybe a couple of things. So having consistent YouTube videos, which is going to happen, come out, reviewing the food, giving different opinions, saying, what's good, what's not good. That's definitely going to help fill the gap a bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And this also, I'd assume, I mean, now that the full lineup's out and all the extras are out, I think we could probably say for sure that Scare Actor Dining's not happening this year. This looks like sort of not a replacement of it, but just like a sort of in the same vein of kind of what it was in a sense. And now there's no Scare Actor Dining option on the tickets now.
I mean, yeah, it's not looking great for Scare Actor Dining, is it? But after our experience with it last year, especially with it being in Louis, and we didn't think it worked.
Yeah,
I don't think we're too upset about it personally, right? But I know some people did love it, so that would stink for them to lose.
Just to compare, do you remember what you paid for Scare Actor Dining versus this?
I want to say it was like $60.
Yeah. So it's literally triple, just about.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
pretty much.
For the record, it's very expensive. I still think it'll be sold out every night.
Well,
We'll find out.
Best of luck, Universal. I hope it does well for you.
Well, next we should just jump right into the tribute store, which is always awesome. They think they officially confirmed that it's back in New York, which is great. The Hollywood location did have some really good sets and stuff for the Jurassic Park version, but the layout was too small. The whole area was too small, and it was never going to work for Halloween Horror Nights. So it's great that it's moving back to New York. And as we talked about last week with the tribute store teases that were in the Jurassic Park store, they said now it's a New York comic book shop, and basically they said experience the tribute to terror by stepping into the pages of this original, terrifying horror comic book. And I think that is a wonderful theme for a tribute store. It's not something I thought of before, but it's definitely something that could really lean into some really cool visuals.
Yeah, I get the vision for it, but compared to some past concepts, I do have concerns about how this one gets pulled off in what a tribute store experience is. Mm-hmm. It does naturally kind of have the vending aspect to it that would happen at kind of cons like that. So that kind of works, but it's not the one that has me the most excited. I'll say that much.
I'm excited just because I think I saw Skipper Haas on Twitter say that this is like the most excited he has ever been for people to see something he's worked on. So he's really hyping up that he's really excited to have people see what they have in store here. So I'm excited just because he seems very excited. But yeah, I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, I saw what you were saying, Mike. That Haas was saying him and the team like have worked really hard and he's super excited about it. Also, my concern was how it was going to fit in the what was rumored now confirmed Vamp Scare Zone. I feel like a comic book store, it makes sense because it's in, it says upstate New York.
Yeah, I think if it's
so. I think it makes sense. So I was really concerned about that, and I don't think I really have any concerns now. I mean, maybe kind of seeing how they're going to do it, like Duff said, but I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see something different.
I think the horror comic and the psychedelic vibe of Vamp 69 are going to mesh perfectly. Like,
is it going to be an ultraviolet comic?
I mean, it doesn't say, but I think it fits pretty perfectly. It's definitely going to have that psychedelic vibe. It's probably going to be a lot of UV lighting in there. It's going to be really cool.
Well, that'd be beautiful. I would love to see them pull that off. I didn't even make the connection before of those themes fitting together, but now I can't unsee it. Like that's kind of perfect.
Yeah.
And if we get the return of ultraviolet represented somewhere at HHN, that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
The next thing we got announced was that the Dead Coconut will be returning. The Dead Coconut Club will be returning with a new menu and theme at City Walk.
I mean, not surprising to anyone, right?
I'm super excited. I thought this was
expected.
This was one of the one of my most favorite things of last year, just like a new addition. And it wasn't just for Halloween, it returned. I really like these overlays for the Red Coconut Club. They're very fun. And I'm excited to see what we have in store.
And I will say, over the past few iterations of it, they've really started to figure out the ops side of it. Mm-hmm. So I know there's some not so great experiences for people in its original incarnation because just waits, the amount of people, the hours, it just wasn't working out well. So I think they probably have that a little more figured out this time. And now that they've done it so many times, they probably have a really good feel for the space they're working with and what they can do with it. So I'm really excited to see it for sure. I know
the store in Islands of Adventure keeps teasing like a Red Planet thing. There's been many. I feel like there's been more teases than not in that store of like Red Planet. I wonder if that's the theme that's going to be in the Dead Coconut Club, something along those lines, because they seem to really be pushing that in that store.
That's interesting. I haven't seen that.
I could see that.
Maybe I'll go check out that store and see if any more Easter eggs have shown up on Tuesday.
Not a bad idea.
So maybe check TikTok out if you're interested in keeping an eye on that.
Check out the TikTok anyways.
I mean, you should, yeah. But moving on, we have to get a corporate thing in there somewhere. So, also announced, Peacock's Halloween horror bar.
Horror.
It will feature themed libations with an ominous nightclub vibe, photo opportunities, and more. Yep.
So this is expected, or is it confirmed? I don't know. To go to Lombard's, the bar that we loved last year and have been super hyped about.
Not Lombard.
That's not. I don't think it's announced, but it's highly speculated. If that is the case, it would make sense why there's so many fucking trusses out there.
Yeah.
And especially like the lighting ones, why there's so many, the nightclub vibe. So I'm not against that. I'm against the potential of, hey, we're bringing this thing to it, so those really great drink prices, gone.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
You're going to have a Peacock Blinky Cup, you think?
Ugh.
And it was like so chill back there too. Now it's going to be just this
a nightclub
ominous
vibe.
Ominous
nightclub.
Just
we're going to be like, Jeff and I are going to try to be talking and be like, so what did you think about Oddfellow?
And there's just a guy just dancing next to you.
Guy, it's you, Mike. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's just
right.
Every night is just going to be that meme of that like guy mansplaining into the woman's ear
Right.
meme.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God, I'm gonna stay optimistic, but I'm really sad that our little hidden bar is gonna have fucking laser beams shooting out of it now.
Have you seen the newest Peacock show? It's just like paid plants.
I really liked Poker Face. How about you?
Have you caught Chucky on Sci-Fi yet?
Oh my God, please.
People
Every
came
5
here to
minutes,
listen
Chucky...
to the full announcement. This is what they're getting.
No, literally every 5 minutes there's an audio in that bar. Make sure to watch Chucky on Peacock now.
All right, we're gonna move on before this makes us upset.
Please.
So Cabana Bay experiences are coming back, of course. Why wouldn't they? This time, we are gonna get Chucky's Twisted Playground as kind of like the attraction. Their description for it is pose for photos at Chucky's Twisted Playground, a photo illusion experience based on the USA and Sci-Fi TV series.
Hey.
This is where it's going to happen.
Features 5 uniquely scary photo opportunities. Chucky's Twisted Playground is exclusive to guests of any Universal Orlando resort. But also the spooky Swizzle Lounge is returning, this time featuring Lil Boo and the Pumpkin Lord's Lair.
This is going to be fun.
Why?
I mean, I'm not upset. They're not going to kill off Little Boo and Pumpkin Lord just like that. Come on. Look how much merch Lil Boo sold.
I know.
They're not done yet.
Is the Swizzle Lounge the same place where they had all that Pumpkin Lord, Little Boo stuff last year in
Yes.
Cabana Bay?
Yes.
Pumpkins, yeah, that's right. That's the bar right in the lobby.
I will
do we
say
think
they do kind of hype it up like it's going to be a bit more than what we saw last year.
That's fair.
Okay.
So we'll see if that does happen or if they're just saying that. But
yeah, I like the that it says photo illusion because so last year we had the monsters thing and that was more photo ops. Illusions to me kind of feels like it's going to be playing with like depth perception, some of them and stuff like that. Like that's kind of cool.
Which the one from 30, Jack's one was sort of had experiences like that too. So
yeah, but I don't know if I'll even get to see it because I don't think we're doing a hotel stay this year.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Oops. If anyone wants to let us mooch off your room key just to see the Chucky thing, let us know.
In addition to the Cabana Bay experiences, there's also other experiences across the resorts. There will be specialty cocktails, obviously themed to Horror Nights at various bars in all 8 hotels. And there is another special experience that I found really interesting, and that's the Universal Monsters Gallery of Legends. They had it sort of last year, but it was focused all in Cabana Bay. Now it's going to be spread in all in the 7 hotels. Let me explain. Go on a photo hunt to find 7 different Universal Monster photo opportunities waiting for you in 7 different Universal Orlando hotel lobbies. So for people like us, they're encouraging us to, like, just to, at least for me, to go to every hotel like in one day, be like, ooh, I got my photo op with the Invisible Man, got my photo op with the creature, that's like a fun little adventure. But for everyone just staying at hotels, that's a nice little thing to say, even if you aren't in Cabana Bay, there is still some HHN there for you. You're not, you don't just have to stay in Cabana Bay to get some HHN vibes.
Yeah, I like that it's spreading to I mean, obviously we're not going to get huge things at each one, but I like that we're getting little tastes of dabbles, if you will, throughout.
Hey.
Oh, a dabble of monsters.
Yeah.
I like it because it says 7, so that, to me, that reads that Cabana's not getting one because there's 8 hotels. And Cabana's already getting something. Yeah. So I think that's cool because it will bring people, like, Cabana to me feels like the heart of like HHN weekends and stuff like that. Like, that's where everyone stays. I know the other hotels, they are open late as well, but like, it's kind of cool that it might have people go to different hotels to maybe see these things and check out different vibes that they haven't seen. Because all the hotels are kind of cool. So
yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I will probably one day decide to just go check it out, because why not?
Yeah, little hunt, little scavenger hunt.
Oh. That sounds like a TikTok to me.
That's what I was gonna say.
So that was all the other stuff. Let's get on into the houses, but before we do, I think this is where we kind of need to put a spoiler warning, because when we talk about these, we're going to talk about little tidbits that we have taken from the announcement, from the press release, as well as the podcast. So if you haven't listened to the Discover Universal podcast, which is the first official podcast, we are going to be talking about things that have been put in there. So if you are trying to just, have the least amount of information possible, or you want to go listen to that first, go ahead and pause this and come back when you have listened to that. Or if you don't want to listen to it, we'll spoil it for you. So it's up to you. We're about to get into it though.
And then one more tidbit on that. While we are going to go over everything they've kind of added from the podcasts, we're only going to really talk about the ones that involve the houses and zones, and kind of leave the additional lore for a later episode.
Yeah, we'll do it in a lore episode, but we're going to focus on if they talked about something you might experience in the house or a zone or a show, we're going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did give us a lot of details on the podcast, so like I know that it sounds weird to have a spoiler warning for things we haven't experienced, but the podcast didn't have it had a spoiler warning, but I didn't think they were going to get that deep into some.
No, they did. They get pretty deep. So
here's your warning.
Yeah. All right, who wants to take the first IP, and the IP that I guess was kind of the main reveal because it got the announcement video? All right, don't all jump at once. I know this isn't our favorite. I know this isn't our favorite house.
I'll do it. I don't care. It's fine. So it had a lovely video, and we finally got to meet the last friend in that FaceTime. I guess we can call him the one with the headphones. So it was the Exorcist Believer. So the new film, which at one point it was on the spec map, then it was the original, and then it came back at the end, right? I think. I can't remember.
On the spec map? No.
Yeah.
It stayed.
No? Oh, it stayed okay. Well, we got Believer. So 2 missing girls have been found with no memory of what happened to them. But wherever they went, the ultimate evil has returned with them. Enter the most terrifying scenes from the new Blumhouse film. They said guests will venture into the other realm and see what's on the other side. And do we want to talk about that video? Because I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, might as well break it down. So the only one we got. So I think it's kind of until we get like, the normal, this is our event video. This is probably it. So, as you said, it was focusing on the guy with the headphones. Basically he's listening to, if you go back to the podcaster, he's listening to that podcast, talk about the legend. Then he touches, what was on the ground that he grabs?
Oh, I don't
It was like
remember.
a doll, I think.
And like, The second he touches it, kind of the possession hits. He drops to the ground, kind of blanks out, and then sees some wild shit. Exorcist believer shit, to be exact. But as they always do, he's okay in the end, and he'll probably die when we get to the full ad. But I thought it was a really fun one. It actually felt like there was the danger there. Unlike when they've done the ones in the house, it kind of feels like, oh, anticlimactic.
I was surprised there wasn't a bed. Like it was just other scenes, from, or like other scenes inspired by what we saw in the trailer from Exorcist Believer. There was no bed. There was no, like, there was nothing to really point you to that it was Exorcist besides the main theme at the end. I think if someone didn't see the trailer, they'd really have no clue that this was related to Exorcist at all until you got to that, you started hearing the doo 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 doo, that theme play.
That's what it sounds like. Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I played a recording right now.
Real quick, I did also want to jump back to the point where on the podcast they mentioned that we will venture into the other realm and see what is on the other side, because I interpret that as being like when that happened in the Poltergeist house, where you actually go through and see the other side, like you did not in the film. So I think that is going to be an original take of what you will see in that other realm.
That makes me a lot more excited for this. They're gonna give us some. We haven't even seen this movie yet, so if they kind of add some stuff and make it unique, I think that's fun.
It's gonna be weird because we're not gonna know what's just scenes from the movie and what stuff potentially could be original, like how Poltergeist went into an original direction. We don't know if they go into the other realm in the first, in the movie. We don't know anything about this movie really.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it definitely a lot more interesting, at least to the eyes, compared to if we got the original film. We'd know exactly what we were going to see over and over and over again.
Yeah, and I mean, we all saw the trailer at this point, I believe, and you guys that did last week discussed it, but it's, there are plenty of places to go as opposed to the original. So we're going to do our hype list weeks from now. Spoiler alert, this will be low, but I am more excited about it than I would have been if it was A, the original, or B, similar to the original. So there is some hype here for me.
Yeah, it's a little higher than it would be if it was the original, even though I haven't seen the original like at an event. I know it's come before, but talking about something I did like, I really like the merch. I don't know about you guys, but I thought it looked better than the last one.
It was,
for sure.
It was definitely one of the better ones. I think it's better than...
I didn't get to see it in person.
Better than the Vecna shirt, for sure. I think it's on par with The Last of Us. To me, it's just the white kind of kills it. I'm not looking to have a wet t-shirt contest walking around the parks.
You're not?
No.
Damn.
No, I'm not.
You really strike me as just walking around HHN. Woo!
No. That's why.
But there was a nice glass.
Yeah, a little rocks glass, which I like because I think the design that they used for the house actually looks really good. I just don't like how it looks on the shirt. It's kind of in the opposite way of it is in The Last of Us. And even Stranger Things, where it kind of takes up the whole shirt, like horizontally. This one, like, the width of the graphic is just insane. Like, I feel like if I put the shirt on, it would like wrap around under my armpits. The graphic, it just fits so weird. Yeah, and it does. I don't know why, but the back logo of Horror Nights, and it's like kind of big. It just bothers me for some reason. And I hate the font for 2023. I don't think it's a great design shirt, but I think the design on the shirt is really good.
That rocks glass though.
I bought it.
That's really nice.
I bought it. Yeah, I did.
I know you did.
Yeah, that's really nice. I do actually like the logo and the design, and I think it looks really good on like a piece of glassware, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
My only problem with the merch is something that's not the merch's fault at all, but it's just, with Exorcist, the original Exorcist, what the building looks like. It's iconic. If you got a shirt that had that building on it, you're like, oh great, that's Exorcist. But for this one, it's like, here's this house, and it's like, okay, I don't know anything about this house. I guess it's important in the film, but I have no connection to this house at all. There's no reason why I'd want to wear this house on my body. So, having merch out before the movie comes out, so you don't really know the significance of what you're looking at, is a little strange. And it's gonna be a weird merch season for Exorcist Believer, at least for me.
I will say what's funny about this too, is that the logo having the two girls, I've seen multiple people get tripped up and like confuse the Exorcist with The Shining now.
Oh my
Like they
God,
start
yeah.
talking about the Shining twins like it's part of Exorcist. I find that because we haven't seen the movie.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the movie, so
But-
people are like trying to put something in their head that makes
They're
sense.
Different ethnicities.
Well, you can't tell that on the shirt.
Oh, I haven't seen it in person.
No.
I only saw very tiny pictures.
It's kind of like a silhouette of them, so you can't really.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I take it back.
They just look like two girls standing next to each other.
Gotcha.
But it is funny that they just automatically get tripped up. So like, I know, yeah, twins. I know where that's from, right? Yeah, sure. Because no one's seen the movie, and that's kind of one of the. This isn't really an issue. It's just a merch thing. Who cares? But that's going to come into play in the house. Not that specific issue, but just in general, not having seen the property. Not the greatest still. Don't love it.
I think in the podcast they described the house as like a trailer for the movie. At least until you see the movie. They said like this is basically a trailer for
They're trying to sell it
Exorcist
to us.
Believer.
Yeah, they basically said they're going to tell you you will see the movie. So it's going to get spoiled for you in the house.
That
Mhm.
sucks.
They talked about how they're going to show all the big scenes and all that. So yeah.
Is this just to get Five Nights at Freddy's next year? Because goddamn, is it worth it? Let's move on, please. We've talked so much.
Yeah,
about this.
absolutely. So the next announcement we got, which was technically a re-announcement, we got Chucky, the tagline "Ultimate Kill Count," and the
Oh God,
yes, and
Sue them, dead meat. Sue them.
yeah, apparently
Ooh,
Deadbeat,
they're not
yeah,
happy.
wasn't quite happy because he was not involved at
No
all.
affiliation.
Yeah, not at all. So, so the little blurb we got, it says, Chucky, the serial killer doll, is back for a new gore fest. He's hijacked his own haunted house with all kinds of bloody hijinks. You and your friends must try to survive his ultimate kill count. And then we got, on the podcast, we got a little bit elaboration where it says the house was built to be kind of like, it's going to be like a meta. It's like they built a house to have like a Chucky haunted house, and Chucky decided to show up, and he thought it was stupid, and so he decided to actually like possess all the dolls in the Chucky promotion haunted house, and kill the people in the haunted house. So it's like you're like in a fun Chucky haunted house that's actually possessed by Chucky himself. He like hijacks his own haunted house.
Jonathan, you have to go first. You have to hop on this.
So what this feels like a completely new house announcement. And it's weird because Chucky was announced October 31st last year. Like that was the first thing we knew. Whenever we're talking about HHN, we're like, oh, Chucky was announced. This feels completely different. It doesn't just feel like, and they say it's not a book report of the show or anything like that. It is practically an original IP. Almost like, not exactly, but like the same vein as like Monsters. Like they're taking this IP and they're putting it a completely original spin on it. They're making it meta. I know Murdy has hinted at that like a while lately, but I cannot be more excited for this. Making fun of Halloween Horror Nights with Chucky is super smart. Having him possess the employees and guests and stuff is such a grand idea. I can't believe they haven't done this before, like as an original concept. But I mean, there's so much I want to talk about regarding this house. I just think it's such a great idea, and it definitely made me way more excited for the Chucky house than I already was. This is just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've always kind of talked about how this is simply based off the series. Don't know how excited I am about that. But they went all in, and it's going meta as fuck, the way Chucky should be. He is actually going to be at the event, at the house, and actually fucking people up. So this shoots way up my rankings because of that. I don't know about way up, but I'm a lot more excited about it than I was before. Like way more excited. So I love the name. I think it's goofy as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I love the concept. I can't think of a better way to take this IP than what they're doing with it.
It's the perfect use of Chucky. It really is.
No, it really feels like it. And I know we got the announcement last October, but we got nothing with that except Chucky's coming. He has a show on Sci-Fi. House is coming for 32. So we needed a proper announcement with the title, with the description. So this was the perfect way to do it. Bundle it in with what we thought was just going to be 3 IPs. Ended up being everything else, but I'm really excited for it. Especially, I feel like it still fits Fast and Furious the best. Like, I just am excited to see what they do. Hopefully, we get something in that outside portion. I feel like Chucky.
I hope we actually do.
We could. So I'm excited.
We were supposed to last year.
You could literally make it honestly, if they wanted to, it could just be like a blank area like last year and just have audio of Chucky going like, what the hell is this? What happened? They just forgot to build this part of the house, like stuff like that. Like even that I would enjoy.
Okay, that'd be even better.
Do you know what the vibe this gives me is like the Men in Black ride where you're like shooting like the fake aliens at first and then the real aliens come? Like I feel like it's going to be kind of like that where it's going to be like really cheesy and hokey and then you're going to be like Chucky's going to be like, what is this shit? And then like that's what I get that idea. I think it's going to be fun.
Well, I mean, I could see them like the haunted house they're building for Chucky be like purposefully like not as I don't know how to say it, like detailed as most houses are just for Chucky to shit on it. Like I would love that too. There's so many routes they can take this house, and just I'm so happy this IP ended up going in this direction instead of just. Here's a book report of the show. This is a much better way to take.
Do we get a self-deprecating Black Walls joke in
please?
I hope so.
I think that would be very funny.
I hope Liv Morgan's still in the house somewhere, just for me.
She'll show up every night. It's happening.
I hope so.
What if they did? What if they brought back something that they haven't done in a long time, and that's the plants in the line.
Oh yeah,
because it says he's possessing guests. So what if like all of a sudden it gets walking and then they walk out and and get either get killed by Chucky or possessed by Chucky or something along those lines to once again make it feel he understands it's the haunted house and nobody is safe, including you.
Or house attendants. That could be scary as shit if you think it's a real house attendant and it ends up being a scare actor.
So for the listeners who don't know, Jonathan referred to something that's like a pretty deep cut, and it's honestly kind of like an urban legend if it's actually happened or not. But there's this,
it's definitely
there's this thing that goes around in the HHN community where everyone says like back in HHN 6 or 7 or like way long ago that there was someone in the line with us and like they made friends with us, and then all of a sudden that person gets like taken and like stabbed, and it turned out that person was a plant. That's what he's referring. Like everyone, it's just like this urban legend type thing that in the HHN community that there were plants in the line. I have not figured out if it's actually a thing that happened in HHN like often. Like I have not seen someone say that like that.
It definitely had. There's even no video of one experience of it happening.
Oh really? Do we know what year this happened?
Yeah. I mean, it happened over the course of multiple years, but I don't think it's happened in at least 15, 20.
That many years?
I think so.
So it was just like an early event thing that has happened.
Yeah.
That would be cool if it came back for sure.
I know there have been reports that it has happened more recently, but those reports, I don't think there's any evidence to back it up. It could have happened, definitely could have, but there's no like proof that it has happened more recently. Let's move on to the last IP announced for this event, though. One that we knew was coming, but got a name that we did not expect, and that is Universal Monsters Unmasked. Descend into the Paris catacombs, where you and your squad will face a new horde of monsters: Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Phantom of the Opera, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and the Invisible Man. Ooh, hello. We kind of thought we were going to get like some of these, but like we'd get omissions. We got it. We got it all. It all happened.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
There's so many here.
So real quick, before we get into it, some quick descriptions from the podcast. Invisible Man and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are on the run. They end up in Paris, where, of course, you have the Hunchback and Phantom. You will not only visit the catacombs of Paris, but also go out into the city itself, including the Paris Opera House.
Yeah, and should we talk about the John Murdy stuff that he just talked about tonight here?
No, we'll do that on the Hollywood part.
Hollywood
we'll say that because we don't know if it'll be in the Orlando
That's
part.
true.
Sure.
That is true. But John Murdy, stay tuned, because John Murdy laid out a bunch more for this.
Yeah, we'll get to in about 2 hours.
We'll see.
I mean, the one thing we can say right off the bat, I think, like the only thing about John Murdy's presentation that applies to Orlando doesn't look like it's going to be a part 1, part 2 situation.
No.
I think we're just sticking with the same story.
Stay away from our house, Murdy. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I just want 2 separate houses. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
It's definitely a benefit of, and I hated how Legends Collide did it with the part 1, part 2. So I'm happy we're going back.
I like the concept, but yeah, I don't want to see it. Jess, please. This is your baby that you've been excited about. Go ahead, please talk.
Thank you. First of all, this name, I screamed when the name is perfect for all 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. I know we're not even gonna get into that. Hunchback is in the motherfucking house.
So excited.
There was a rumor that he, like, for a while, that it wasn't gonna be him. It was gonna be just Phantom, and I'm just so excited. I've been talking about it for months. Backseat monsters are finally getting their moment. And I know that there are still people going, where's Creature? Where's Creature? I feel like we're doing these 4 because Creature has to get his own house. Mm-hmm. So just be patient. Can you let us Paris people have our year, please? Because, oh my God, this seems so fucking cool. The sets, I love Jekyll and Hyde. I really do. I didn't love the idea of bringing the British monsters over, but if we're doing it for the same reason Murdy is, and I know we said we are going to get into it, but it's because Jekyll and Hyde and Invisible Man, they're on the run for malpractice as doctors. So they run to Paris. So if that's the story in Orlando too, there's just so many layers to this. I'm going to let someone else talk, but this is very high on my hype list. And I feel like after last year, it's a valid reason to have it that high.
I mean, for sure. But for a second, can we just talk about the artwork that he's given?
It's not great.
It's not great, but like, you can tell the theme they're going with. They're making the monsters a little bit more horrific, like they usually do. Making them, just larger teeth and disgusting face and whatever. But then all the way on the right, you just got the Invisible Man kind of standing there, and he looks completely normal. There's nothing different about him. He's still wearing like the colorful suit.
It's just him.
He's just chilling. He's just kind of standing there, and I find that funny. And my only concern about this house, I'm super excited about this house. Getting all these monsters that aren't Dracula, great. And
no vampires.
It's sticking them into one location to sort of ground them is also like such a great idea. My only concern is all these monsters seem kind of, they're trying to aim for a scary approach. The Invisible Man is silly. It's this, like, look at him. He's a silly monster, and I don't know if he'll necessarily fit with the others. I'm interested to see how they do it. My only worry is, like, we're going to see, like, scary, scary, scary. And all of a sudden it's going to be like, here's the Invisible Man moment. Look at him go. He's so silly, and then you just go scary, scary, scary once again.
Did you not like the blacklight effect in like Hollywood's like in the video? Obviously, I don't think you saw it either that year, but did you not like how they did it in what was that 2019, 2018?
Oh, I actually thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I did like that version. I hope we do something somewhat similar,
Yeah.
but like especially for this story, if we are going for a more grounded approach, and if they're going for a scary tone, I do wonder if he'll sort of break the flow for a minute. But we'll have to see how they do it. I could see a lot of like puffing air scares, like he's around you but you can't feel him, or like, you know, hidden strings that are transparent so you feel him on you or whatever. Like that stuff could be really cool. I think they can pull off a lot of invisible sensation stuff, sort of like how they did with Bugs, really well. So, you know, hopefully they find a good way to implement him and he's not just like the surprise Invisible Man fun time part of the experience.
Yeah. I'm super hyped for this house as well. I have to say the only thing I'm slightly concerned about, and it's not a real concern, but I think for casuals, Mr. Hyde, the Phantom of the Opera, Unmasked, and Hunchback of Notre Dame are all visually kind of all looks kind of similar, unless if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. So I know that like going through this house, there's definitely going to be people behind and in front of me be like, oh look, it's and like clearly like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, they're going to be like, oh look, it's Jekyll and Hyde. Like I can already tell that people are going to confuse them. They're going to be like, who is that? Like I can already tell that it's going to, and they're going to have to work pretty hard on kind of differentiating who you're seeing. But I think they'll be able to do it.
No one's going to be confused with the Invisible Man, though.
No.
He's his own thing.
No.
I think for me, the big thing that we've learned about it from this announcement is not only will we see the city, which we've talked about, this is going to be the most beautiful house. The sets are going to be great. We do get to go to the catacombs and get that kind of claustrophobic experience. So it's kind of a best of both worlds scenario for the setting. So I'm very excited for that.
And I guess we'll move right on to originals now. We got the rest of the originals announced for this year, and we're going to start off with a bang, and that is Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. And let's just get right to the description here. You won't be able to resist going inside Dr. Oddfellow's menacing menagerie of twisted oddities, but the price for you and your friends is steep. The cost of your souls to feed his immortal power, which is really incredible. Just let's get into some things about that the podcast gave about this house before, you know, diving right into it. Basically, the story is that you're invited to an after hours show, you know, a show that's more dark than a normal carnival show. You enter from under the bleachers and you get in, and the performers, they're not doing silly acts. They're kind of just killing people. And this whole thing is a setup. This whole reason this whole thing was put on to get you into this area is to so Oddfellow can take our souls with an item that I'm sure many of you guys know from HHN history, the Cane of Souls. And of course, Oddfellow being so closely tied with Jack's origin, previously that's where we really knew him from, Jack will indeed appear in the house, but it will be more of in a silhouette form. Dr. Oddfellow will basically kill him in a silhouette. So far, we're not sure if there's going to be like an actual scare actor of Jack in some point, but they did say he will be there, like as, you know, silhouette projection type thing. And it will show the famous scene of Dr. Oddfellow's immortal blood leaking onto Jack, which therefore makes Jack immortal and gives him, now he's the Jack that we know today. And Duff, like, I know you and me and a lot of other people had concerns, of this sort of being like a classic carnival type house, freak show house, and it wasn't gonna, maybe it wasn't gonna have enough differentiations to make it unique to Halloween Horror Nights compared to other haunts that have done, this sort of concept many times. But just the history in here, making it seem like a story. Obviously, the title, his making it his origin, and putting you in the action, not being just normal acts, but a setup to kill all these victims. I think, and the connection to the lore, I think this makes this house, just like the idea of this house, unbelievable, and something I am so excited to see in person.
Yeah, I think all the info we received kind of killed those concerns for me, not gonna lie. It's very clear they're not taking the traditional carnival approach, let alone really a carnival approach at all. The carnival is only a ploy to get you in. After that, it's over. He is not a carny. He is not a ringmaster. Not one bit. He's a Freudian character who is, as we're going to learn, I'm going to save the stuff for later because different houses and zones are going to tell us more. But he is so much more. So I'm not concerned about that anymore at all. I don't think it's just going to be a scary carnival thing. I think his character, just from what we know regarding this house, not only just the concept of what he is, but what he means now to the event, like filling in the gap of why Jack is always around. Why hasn't he died? Well, he has died. Why'd he come back? Why is he still around? We know. Kind of answering questions about the Cane of Souls, which actually wasn't a huge detail of HHN lore. It was kind of a smaller thing. Now they're adding a shit ton of importance to it. It was kind of just a prop that existed without having a ton of meaning for the most part. We're adding a lot of meaning to it now. I think the way they've approached the lore building here is not contradicting anything from the past, but just filling in holes and really adding to the lore. And I am super excited for this house and Dr. Oddfellow as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds like they're doing it all like kind of Easter eggy too. It's not going to be like slap you in the face with fan service. It's going to be kind of like blink and you'll miss it type of stuff. Like the whole scene where it's Dr. O kills Jack. They specifically say on the podcast it's going to be like in a silhouette, like you know, look closely type of moment. So I think that's the way to do it, where it's not going to be like this huge, you know, Jack isn't going to steal the show here. You know, he's going to be in there, but he's going to be hidden in there for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think another cool thing that we get from the concept art is that Dr. Oddfellow will be our first Black icon.
Yeah.
So that is an awesome moment for the event.
That's really important.
Yeah.
It is incredible. And he is an icon. They've said he's an icon. They've
multiple times on the
explicitly stated this is not like a Pumpkin Lord situation where there is a reasonable debate on whether or not you can, put Pumpkin Lord in icon status. They made it clear here. Dr. Oddfellow is 100% an icon.
Yeah, we're not going to go deep into the lore, but they have basically built him into the lore of every house and zone of this year. And it'll be a totally different show. But yeah, he explicitly is an icon that has been built into this year, and even it sounds like potentially other years as well. They're going to retcon him in. So yeah, he's definitely an icon. And all right, are we ready to move on to the next house?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Well, I'll take this one. This next one is the heavily rumored Dueling Dragons. We got a tagline of "Choose Thy Fate." And the blurb says, 2 warlocks of great power were turned into dragons after trying to take Merlin's spellbook. Now you and your friends are caught in their epic battle. You must choose a path and a victor. And then little blurbs that we got from the show or from the podcast is that they will be battling, and then we're going to be through a fairy forest into a castle. He says something about hate ice, whatever that is. They made a big deal about hate ice.
Spraying it at us or something. I don't want to be sprayed with your hate ice. Ew.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds crazy. And then
we had to cancel my Santa joke, but we get to talk about hate ice blasting. Come on.
They'll never hear the Santa joke.
No. But then, so he turns these warlocks into two dragons called Blizzrock and Pyrock, and that there are 4 different endings that you could potentially get of the choose your fate style. And then that is kind of the main thing. They have hinted to that it's going to be like split paths at some point in the house. We don't know if that's going to be from the beginning, the middle, or near the end.
They did directly say that the path will be like after the battle, after they turn, you are going to choose basically who you want to go with and see who the winner will be.
Okay, so near the end, you're going to split off and decide if you want to.
So it sounds like it'll probably be 2 paths, and you'll have a winning and a losing scenario for both sides, getting you to the 4 different endings you could have.
That's so fun.
So you could choose Pyrock one day and he wins. Go back to Pyrock tomorrow and he loses potentially.
Okay. Do you want to be blasted with fire or do you want to be blasted with hate ice?
Hate ice.
I'll take the fire. I thought I was a Blizzrock guy, but I don't know anymore.
I don't know that hate ice.
Where was Blizzrock on January 6th?
This is so cool. Just as like, I know we're all theme park people, but like growing up in Florida, like Dueling Dragons was the first I think suspended coaster I went on, and I was obsessed with it. It was my favorite ride, and it left, and here we are, and now my favorite event has a house about it, and I'm really fucking excited. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, this is one I've been excited about since the rumors come out, and that has not changed one bit. And I will say a lot of people who have worked on the event kind of like hint at how excited they are about stuff on Twitter, and multiple people have come out and specifically stated how stoked they are for everyone to see Dueling Dragons. So, yes, please. Cannot wait.
Like, how excited we were in Case Files when it's like, oh, the Kitty Cat Club, that's, in Universal, the park, that's so cool that they replicated that. That's awesome, putting park lore into Halloween Horror Nights house. This is just making the whole thing park lore inside a Halloween Horror Nights house. And I think that's incredible. I don't have much ties with the whole land, what it was before Harry Potter came in, and Dueling Dragons really at all. So I'm not going to have that much of a connection besides, I recognize pictures and stuff like that. And I like the sort of idea of fire and ice and stuff. But I'm really happy that they're doing this. And regardless of my connection to the ride, I think the world is so established and the ideas are so interesting and cool that it's not even going to matter. I think this is going to be a beautiful house, hopefully a really nice scenic house. I think the ending is really cool, or the speculated ending is really cool, and I just really hope, by the way they're saying this description, that they're saving the dragons, and once they show the dragons, they are gonna be just epic in scale. They're gonna look great. I'm really hoping for them to hold those dragons until you get to a big scene and all right, we're gonna show them both off now, and just make them look great. I'm really excited for this house.
Definitely. All right, moving on. What's the next one?
Oh, I want to take this one, please. So, rumored, right in the front of the park, we're getting Yeti Campground Kills. So this is confirmed. Another Yeti house. This is a lot of Yetis in a short amount of time. But
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I'm not mad about it. Hey, let's get into the blurb and then we'll break it down. So you and your friends are about to venture into a 1950s campground overrun by huge, menacing Yetis who rip apart anyone who gets in their way. You must flee to the Ranger Tower to escape. So this is a direct sequel or prequel to Terror of the Yukon.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place in the Rocky Mountains, and it's going to have some dark humor. So we found our comedy house of the year. 1950s camping. It's literally going to be campy. Huh.
No, not laughing at that.
Hey, I'm sorry. What I'm the most excited about, and I saw a bunch of people on Twitter, there is a family of Yetis, yes, and we're going to see little Yetis.
Little Yetis.
Yes. Little baby Yetis. So What is this last one? Continuing joke?
Yeah, so they stated that, you know how people have said previously that the creatures, including these, which should be Bigfoot, are not Yetis? The creator specifically called out that this has become a continuing joke. Because originally, going back to what the sequel of the Slaughter Cinema Swamp Ape should be the Skunk Ape. Okay. They did not call it that.
Call that a swamp
Terror of
Yeti,
the
right?
Yukon. Yep. Terror of the Yukon should have been Sasquatch. No, it's a Yeti. And now it's supposed to be Bigfoot. Still a Yeti. Still a Yeti.
So it's like
Gotcha.
this inside
So
joke.
every type of that creature to them is just going to be a Yeti.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. At first I wasn't excited to continuously having Yetis, but at this point, keep bringing them back every couple
So we'll
years.
get an abominable snowman, and it'll just be a Yeti.
I do want to hear a little more detail on how they did originally fluff calling like a skunk ape a swamp Yeti, or if it was on purpose at that point. That wasn't described. I'm curious to know whether that was purposefully done or completely an accident.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like now it's a running joke, but I don't know if it
now.
always...
Yeah, now they do it on purpose. I just wonder if it started that way or if it was an oopsie. But the house itself, I'm excited. I think anytime you want to go for kind of that dark humor, I think like a campy's 50s kind of thing is always a good way to start. We've talked about it before. The scare zone they've had at Howl Scream Orlando is like some of the best content they've ever put out because it was about like camping in the 50s and it was perfect. So I think this was a great setting, and I think Yeti is kind of a naturally funny just property they have. Just the way he attacks and kills, it just works out great. So yeah, I think it's a perfect fit, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm excited to have a house set in my home area of the Rocky Mountains because I grew up in the Wasatch Range of the Rocky Mountains.
Ooh,
yeah, so
my favorite range.
I've done a lot of camping up there. I'm very excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. And they have explicitly said on the podcast that it's set. It's not going to show it necessarily in the house, but it's set in the Rocky Mountains. They said that on the podcast.
Yep.
I'm still kind of worried, just because like I understand that they are kind of different creatures, even though they're all called Yetis. But saw it in Slaughter Cinema, saw it in Terror of the Yukon. Obviously Terror of the Yukon was a much more bigger house, and you got a lot more Yetis in Slaughter Cinema. But besides the location, I'm still kind of worried how much they're gonna differentiate it from particularly Terror of the Yukon. I think they can. I think I need to see it in order to like fully buy into it, because I'm all for those dark comedy houses. Those are usually my favorite of the year. So this one I'm gonna be just standing on the side going, all right, I'm not going to have too high of opinion like yet, or too high of a hype yet until I actually go see it. And then I'm very sure my tune is going to change really quickly the minute that setting changes for me.
Quick question.
The vibe changes.
Yeah. Do you think sequels shouldn't occur if they're the same creature of the original for some reason? It sounds like you expect a sequel to have different like main characters.
Well, no, I just think it's too soon for a Yeti sequel.
Just like visually seeing a Yeti this soon is kind of what gets you?
Yeah, because like for Slaughter Cinema to Terror of the Yukon, that's fine, because Slaughter Cinema was like a little room, so it's like, okay, now to expand it and make it sort of a different Yeti, and that's nice. But I feel like we kind of just saw it like in 2019. Granted, there was a gap, so a gap year, so it might not feel as recent if we didn't have that gap in between. But I don't know, like seeing it again this relatively recently isn't something that I'm super excited for. Because I also thought Yeti Terror of the Yukon was very funny. I saw that as a funny house. It's probably not going to be as campy, as this one. But because they're sticking with not only the same creature, but also the same tone, I don't know. It's not something I'm super excited for, but I'm not gonna write it off. And I do think it can win me over very easily if it can nail the humor.
I feel like Yeti in 2019, Terror of the Yukon, I feel like that one was not trying to be funny. I think it had some elements of comedy, but I think it was trying to be a little gorier than this one is letting it off to be. Like, to me, this feels like we're really leaning into it.
Yeah. And I think the setting is going to be quite different because the Yukon is like cold and snowy, and the Rocky Mountains can be snowy in the winter, but I don't think they're going to lean into the cold aspect of the. It's not going to be necessarily snowy.
Oh, no.
I think we're going to get
get
rainy and dark,
lakeside.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more like your classic camp, like think like Cocaine Bear type humor. I think that type of stuff. You're gonna get like
we're gonna be in a cabin
type humor because that movie was not great.
Yeah,
but...
we'll see a cabin, we'll see a lake, we'll see like a boathouse or something, like, you know what stuff like that. Like, I get what you're saying, Jonathan. It does feel soon, but I mean, on a calendar it's been 4 years. Event years it's been 3, but like we've had sequels and prequels come faster than that before.
What's going to win me over, I think, are the campers themselves. Like, sort of like SeaWorld, and how I feel like the most interesting part of that zone was like the campers' interactions with you. I think I'm more excited for their reactions to the Yeti than the Yeti itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. They're probably going to reuse costumes anyway and maybe just change some colors or whatever. So I think it is a valid reason to be hesitant. Like, I'm not saying, oh, you're wrong.
I think the setting is going to do a heavy lifting here. As long as we can make the setting feel very different than Yeti Terror of the Yukon, which I believe they will. The actual monsters itself are just kind of they're the MacGuffin. They're there. They're gonna be, they're gonna play a big role. But for me, the setting is gonna do the heavy lifting here, and tell the story. As long as the setting is different, it makes it feel different. I think we will have a very different house. That I don't think we're gonna be like, we just saw this. If we get a different setting, and then it sounds like they've really leaned into that.
Yeah. And we'll get some callback kills, I'm assuming. We have to get the hand through the body or the door or something.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. I'd like for them to do the door, but to have it more frequently if they can figure out a way to do that. Because I think that exactly, like, that door scare was one of the most interesting things of 2019. That was such a fun and unique scare, but the frequency of it wasn't there, and many people missed it. Like, I think I only saw it once in my however many runs I did that house. So if they can fix that, honestly, that was my main issue with the Terror of the Yukon, was the long resets of the scares. If they can fix that with this house, it can definitely make it a much better experience. And I did like Terror of the Yukon. I just think that would help this house tremendously.
All right, moving on. Duff, do you want to take the next one?
Sure, why not? So this is one of the first originals rumors we received, and that's going to be what was originally kind of called a Crossroads Robert Johnson inspired original, and we now officially have the name, which it was most recently on the spec map, The Darkest Deal. Blues musician Pine Straw Spruce, love it, will have to face the music after meeting with the Collector and trading his soul for musical glory. You and your squad learn the terrible price of fame. A few tidbits you would have picked out from the podcasts. This will take place in the Mississippi Delta. We'll be seeing this from the point of view of the bandmates seeing this deal be made. We'll be traveling around visiting juke joints. The Collector will be following us on our journey. The deal does get signed, and as they quote, "Will we go down to hell ourselves? We'll find out."
Yeah.
Which means yes.
Yeah, so we're going to hell.
Another tidbit. Another tidbit I picked up from the podcast. They said that the Collector is a very loosely going to be, Satan, but he is going to possess different people throughout, that you'll see kind of like the Collector whisper into someone's ear and then they will be possessed, that type of stuff. So I think that is going to be really cool. I was wondering how they were going to have the characters of this house, like what they were going to be looked like. I think this is a fun way to do it, where the collector is basically going to possess normal people throughout the juke joints and the areas that we are brought through. I think that's fun. I really like how that they're doing this.
This house feels like a big gamble. Like, in order for this to work, this amazing concept to work, they have to nail the storytelling. They have to nail it. They have to make you like feel like you're in the story from the beginning to the end, make the story impactful. That's really, I really think the story, even though in most houses, like, story is also very important, for this especially, it's incredibly crucial for it to work. And if they don't nail it, I don't think the house will work. But if they do nail it, I think this could be, like, there's a lot of originals. This could be one of the most interesting originals like we've had ever, with how, like, how detailed they're leaning into this story. I think it's going to be super fun. I'm very excited to see what we're going to see inside the house. There's been pictures of the facade, come out, that we're not really going to talk about, but they look great. And I really, really, really hope they can pull this off.
I am super excited for it.
Yeah.
But I do agree this does have the highest potential for just missing, because it sounds so story driven in the way that this is going to progress, that if kind of anything is missed just a couple times, it can ruin the whole experience. So that
Do you know what it feels like?
I have that concern.
It feels like Spirits of the Coven. I feel like
Oh God!
It kind of like, how you're going to start off slow and foreboding, and you're going to tell the story, and then as long as it builds, as long as it goes somewhere, I think this could be Spirits of the Coven done right, where you get because when we're taken to hell ourselves, we find out as long as that moment there is builds to the crescendo that Spirits of the Coven did not go to, I think it's okay if it starts off slow. It's okay if it starts off story driven, as long as we build to something there. And I think it sounds like that's what they're doing in this house.
Exactly. I think you just have to hit the different points of the story and have them described to you without being described to you. You need to be able to see it happen. And as long as they do that, like you said, and it doesn't hit the stagnant point where you eventually got in Coven, it sounds like a huge winner to me.
Yeah, I'm just worried because it's narrative heavy, like you guys have been saying, and that was Spirits of the Coven, and that was my number one, and we know how far it fell. But just, we've been seeing those facade update pictures, and I'm getting more and more excited. I'm not going to lie. So, we'll see.
I think it's going to be beautiful either way. It's going to be a very pretty house.
So, I guess we'll move on to our last original here. And the last house we're going to talk about that's been announced recently, and that is Blood Moon Dark Offerings. And the description basically says, in a colonial-era village, moon worshippers witness a blood moon at their fall festival. They take it as a sign to hunt down any non-followers, including you and your Scream Squad. It's back.
We were so close. We were so close.
I really thought we were going to get away from this.
They had to stick it on the last house, right at the bottom of the page, like they pretended it wasn't there. But it is Scream Squad is right there.
Everything else said squad or friends, and they're like, you know what? For old time's sake.
Love it. I'm so happy they did that. It's so great. But we did get one little tidbit of the podcast. I will say this was the house that was talked about the least, but I also assume that was due to time constraints, because even as the podcast was going on, there was like all right, we got to get going. We don't have much time left. But basically they said the colonial town has been dying off. So, they think if they do this ritual to the blood moon, good things will happen, because that's how that stuff kind of works. And I don't know. I think this house has potential. There's not much info about it besides the description, so it's hard to get super hyped, but I think it could be fun. I think it could be like the title that describes bloody. which is great. And I don't know. I'm interested to see what exact route they take with it. But there's not much more else I can say because we don't really have that much information.
Yeah.
They didn't say too much, but they definitely emphasized blood. Blood. Blood, 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 blood.
You think this is the Blood House?
The Bloody House? There's going to be blood? Not just on the moon,
Um,
but actual blood on the ground?
I would love to see a spine rip come back to the event in this house.
The other
take
thing
that.
they emphasized a lot is colonial kill cult. They said that phrase like 10 times on the podcast, and they only talked about this house for maybe a minute. So colonial kill cult, blood moon, fall festival. Those are kind of all we really got about this. That you were there for a fall festival, and you are going to be sacrificed to the blood moon.
They basically just said what the house description already tells us. We had nothing to add
Just
on the house
reworded it in
description.
a different way.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I love like a historical based kind of a setting, so we'll see.
I'm excited for what the sets could look like for sure. Very almost Roanoke vibes for me in that sense.
It could be the most beautiful house of the year. It really could. This could blow us away.
Potential. I don't know, Mike. Monsters is going to be staring you and I down from across the park.
I already know. I mean, we got some spoilers from John Murdy. If it's anything like that in Orlando, but we'll get there. Yes. But there's some very pretty houses this year. This one could potentially be in there. Story-wise, I'm a little concerned though, because we didn't get much. I hope it's, who knows what we got here. It could be kind of a claustrophobic house, or it could be giant sets. We really don't know what we're getting.
It definitely is different than the rumors suggested, though, because I know a lot of the rumors that floated around during spec season was that this was going to be involving witches in some way.
Yeah, Salem witch trials,
and it doesn't
right?
look like that.
I think it was because of the town and the pentagram, but the pentagram could also have been culty, worshipy vibes. I think that's where the confusion was coming from.
I think when people think of like blood moon and sacrifices, their mind will go to like witches before like culty shit. So I understand how wires could have been crossed kind of during that speculation. That stuff was kind of coming out. So it does make sense. There's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, I'm getting more like
happy
pagan
it's taking
vibes.
A different angle.
I'm getting more like pagan vibes than straight witches.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, that was basically the main announcements, but we also got a little bit of tidbits as well about Stranger Things. Was this from the podcast, guys? Is this where
this was from the podcast? Yes.
That we're gonna follow Vecna's basically opening the gate. So basically, start following the Vecna storyline of Stranger Things. Season 4.
Kind of the way they emphasize it is it's not just his storyline that you're experiencing, but it's kind of the point of view of you are watching him throughout his progression of opening the gate. So you're going to be watching him kind of go and make it all happen. Obviously encountering all your favorite characters along the way, as they also stated.
Battle with Vecna, right?
Yeah, but watching him do it all is where they're coming from.
It's an interesting take. I'm interested. I'm optimistic to see how it ends up looking like in the house itself.
Yeah, definitely
Interesting POV to take you.
Yeah, I think this keeps us only in Hawkins then, right? Like almost confirmed at this point. Like we're only following that.
Pretty much.
But I again, let's point out like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween and stating you're gonna see this one thing and this one thing only, and then you see some other stuff. So
that's true.
I mean, could they toss some other stuff in? Just be like, yeah, you want to see some California? Yeah, you want to see some Russia?
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna have to have 11 in there somewhere, right? And 11 is basically in the California section of it. So you're going to have to cut it around because 11 is the star of that show. Like, so you're going to have her in there. So you're going to have to slice her in and go to California, even if she's just, taken out of context and sitting in a, like a what do they call it in the show, where she's just kind of in a tub.
The sensory deprivation.
Yeah, this
tank.
deprivation tank. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
I'm rewatching the show right now.
Yeah.
We just started it over again.
Yeah. Inside the Surfer Boy pizza.
Oh yeah, in the cooler.
In the cooler, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to have at least a little bit of the California storyline. Do you need Hopper? I don't know.
No, but are people going to want to see it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the Demogorgons are only with Hopper, and they have costumes.
And they're Demogorgons, and it's Stranger Things. They have to show them. They have to use them.
I don't know. We have a lot to speculate on Stranger Things for the next month. Can we move on to the really exciting stuff?
Yeah, we got some Scare Zone announcements. So we got them all announced. Let's go right into it. Who wants to take the first one?
I can. Dr. Oddfellow's collection of horror. So the blurb is: Dr. Oddfellow will lure you into Halloween Horror Nights with a promise of immortality. As he lifts the veil on all the horrors to come, you'll soon realize that you may not even survive the night. So, yeah. I mean, this is not where it usually is over in, what's that?
Production Central.
Production Central, Minion Way, whatever we're calling it. This seems like it's going to be off to the side, like right in the front of the Universal store and then over by Today Cafe. Mm-hmm. There's trusses up and everything already, but I'm very, very excited about this. They said on the podcast, Dr. Oddfellow at the front of the park, showing you how he can provide you immortality, combines characters from the other zones, and the different zones combined share his past. So we've learned he's kind of like a shapeshifter and a time traveler. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is like, oh my God, the Pumpkin Lord, I almost forgot his name, like times 1,000.
Yeah.
How he had like his hand in every zone. This is like Oddfellow is every zone. And they said he's hidden in every zone and you have to kind of find him because he's a shapeshifter.
Yeah, they straight up kind of called this one the table of contents zone. They straight up said like it is. We've had them in the past, and this is another one. It's going to be a preview zone of kind of like here are the little bits of things that you're going to see in the streets.
Mm. I would assume, and we'll get into why a little bit later, but this is the zone where you're going to see Dr. Oddfellow as like the current Dr. Oddfellow visual you expect to see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the icon, your interaction with him, the first one.
It's definitely going to be, I'll have lower expectations just because at the end of the day, it is going to be, hey, this is our event zone, right? Mm-hmm. But instead of just being like, here's the houses we have, or here's the zones we have, it's really going to tell a story and have it all combined into one. So I will be more excited for it than usual, but probably just not as excited I will be for the other zones.
I hope he's mic'd. Like, I really don't. I hope they don't pull a Pumpkin Lord, where it's just the same couple of voice lines over and over and over again. I really hope he's mic'd and can tell his story in whatever ways he needs to, and entice guests, in whatever ways he needs to, and really make you connect with this icon. Besides, here are the list of voice things he's gonna say, and he's just gonna say it in this order the entire night until the night's over. I hope it's more a personal experience.
I will say, I don't want to say they implied it on the podcast because I'd be crossing a line there. They did not fully imply that would be the case, that he would actually be fully interacting. But the way they discussed it and the way I interpreted it is that he would indeed be fully interacting with you. So we'll see. I could be interpreting that wrong. They could have just been sounding a little more excited about it, potentially. And I took it and ran. But we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Moving on. The next zone that we got announced is Dark Zodiac, which was going to be in the Hollywood area of the park. The blurb we got is, Dr. Oddfellow has entered a dark dimension to harness the power of the Zodiac and live forever. He twists the signs into malevolent beings who foretell your doom. As his star rises, yours falls. And then we didn't get too much from the podcast here, but I think the main thing we got is that it's it's kind of be a little bit of a kind of a find your zodiac type zone, but they're gonna be like twisted versions of your zodiac. So you're definitely gonna be able to like find your zodiac and take. It's gonna be a selfie zone where you can have a pose with your zodiac, but you're gonna get a dark, demented, twisted version of your zodiac.
Mm-hmm. And one of the ways they kind of described it, or actually two of the ways they described it, is kind of like you'd see like, what would be like a person, but has had like a bull's head replacing theirs, or someone with like crab claws. So kind of, representing what Capricorn and Taurus in those ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like that. I think this is going
to... They also...
Or Cancer. Sorry. Cancer, not Capricorn.
I knew what you meant. They also talked about how we're going to see him creating these creatures in his house as well. So we're going to kind of see the process of that going into the zone. And this is what makes him, live forever. So I'm very excited to see kind of the importance of this zone to Oddfellow and kind of where he is in relation to all of them.
Do you know what vibes I'm getting with this one? Kind of like the island of Dr. Moreau, where like he makes these creatures that are half human, half like zodiac hybrids. Yeah. I think it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really cool.
I'm so excited.
One aspect that you'll get that kind of makes this almost like the main zone, you kind of want to say, at least regarding his story, is that he has the mark of the dark zodiac. And that's kind of how you'll be able to tell him in all of his shape-shifting forms, is that he has that mark. So they didn't really describe like how that would be shown in this zone, or if it really will break it down how it happens, but that shows the importance of this zone itself.
Yeah, and they suggested that you go through the zones counterclockwise, right? Or was that not said, or is that important to the story?
Yes, because if you go counterclockwise, you're gonna go, because everything's kind of a different era of him. You'll get the correct order, in chronological order of those eras. Gotcha. So we will also move on going counterclockwise, which would of course put us into Central Park, leading us to Jungle of Doom Expedition Horror. Real quick before we get into it, the blurb they have: in the 1920s, Dr. Oddfellow ventured deep into the darkest jungle, performing horrific experiments on nature. Now his monstrous creations are running amok and are coming after you. So first of all, of course, Jungle of Doom, you could have found as a house at HHN 13. So this will count as a sequel or prequel, depending on timing, to that property. But it sounds like it's going to have quite a different take. This is going to be about the origin of Dr. Oddfellow finding his power, and this was what leads him to craving to be immortal. He's going to find a glowing skull, which they mention is a huge part of the zone and of his story as a whole. And what you will see in this zone, they say, distorts the line of nature and beast. So it sounds like some kind of like plant creature hybrid kind of thing is going on here.
Yeah, another one that feels a bitter Doctor Island, or the Island of Dr. Moreau type of like creature experiments type of vibe here. I'm
which is as we go on, is a huge aspect of what Dr. Oddfellow does.
This zone is so exciting. Like, we already have props popping up for this zone, and they look great. There are potential vines that are going to be, hung up like in the zone. I think Central Park is a perfect location for this. I think the transformations of nature could make for really cool scare actors. I think it can play well with sound effects of making it like a dark jungle. I love the fact that it ties to the lore, that it's important. It's not just a jungle scare zone. It's an important jungle. It's something that really starts his journey. I don't know. I think that, like, out of all the zones, this one reads to me that it will have like the best vibes for me personally. I think just if they can put good music in there, sound design, the sound of the animals, the sounds of nature, just walking through here is going to be incredibly immersive, and I just can't wait. I'm really excited for this zone.
I think you just gave them their tagline for the zone. It's not just a jungle; it's an important jungle.
Exactly. But yeah, I think this is a great addition to the lineup, and I can't wait to see it.
Very aesthetically, I'd almost expect very Tomb of the Ancients type vibes going on there, which is pretty exciting. I guess I didn't really say how I felt about the zone. I just talked about what it was. I'm pretty stoked for this zone. It scratches a lot of itches for me. I know, Jess, the jungle thing in general, not you. I love that kind of vibe. And adding the amount of story they did with Dr. Oddfellow in here, it just sounds like it's a great experience.
It's not that I don't like jungles. It's that just being a jungle with like animal, like human hybrids was not exciting to me. And I told you guys last week it was because of the way that they handled the makeup in history past. Like, I can't. I'm sorry. This, though, I'm excited for, okay? I take it all back.
Oh, huh? All right.
Hey, I needed a description. I didn't need just jungle. I'm sorry. This is Barbie, and jungle was just Ken. So, Jungle of Doom, I'm excited for. 1920s vibe, I'm excited for. I just love all of the lore. I feel like my hype list for zones is probably going to be the most difficult this year.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think I kind of know what's going to be the bottom, and then after that,
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see.
Good luck.
So, moving on to the next zone, which is super interesting, which is the one rumored to be in San Francisco, and that is Shipyard 32, Horrors Unhinged. And the description basically says, enter a 1940 San Francisco shipping yard full of mysterious crates and cages bearing Dr. Oddfellow's symbol that has been in all the zone pictures. Beware, his nightmarish oddities have now escaped, spreading fear and chaos in their wake. And we got some more information. This is basically Dr. Oddfellow's Pier 32 warehouse. He is shipping in his creatures, but unfortunately they do break free, which, makes the zone scary. It includes classic HHN characters along with new ones. And for all of HHN history, Dr. Oddfellow has hid in the shadows and dropped in monsters, which could lead to him pulling the strings the whole time, regarding past HHN original houses, why were some creatures in places that they were? Was it all a ploy for Dr. Oddfellow to gain power? And I think this is really cool. The thing I'm most excited about is something very funny, and that is the similarities to Hellblock Horror. Just the fact that we're going to have classic HHN creatures in cages that broke out is kind of really funny to me. But it will be different than Hellblock in that they're not just going to be behind their cages pretending they broke out. Like, they're not just going to hide in them. Maybe they will if they do the same San Francisco boo hole thing they've done in the past. But they're actually going to be out and about this time. But yeah, this looks really fun. I do have concerns. I never did like the types of scares I'd done like recently in San Francisco with those boo holes. But seeing classic Asian characters and then connecting the dots, saying, "Oh my God, there's this character. Dr. Oddfellow must have used them in that past house to gain power, so now that adds to the lore," and that's way more exciting than just saying, "Oh, I remember that character. That's kind of cool." Now it's that character is now important in Dr. Oddfellow's story, and Asian history has changed, and or at least been expanded upon, and that's just epic. Like this zone is gonna unleash so many things, and I'm so excited.
I really hope, like you said, that there are a lot of moments where you look at like a specific like character from the past and go, "Oh," like it makes sense why it was Dr. Oddfellow or something, especially combining with other stuff you learn about him, I'm assuming. And it's not just kind of like saying that, it's like, yeah, they're just here because they're here. If it actually like makes sense, this will be so cool. So cool. If it doesn't, it sounds like it'll just be like creatures.
Yeah, I really hope the monsters they pull from are ones that like are very specific in one setting.
Mm-hmm.
Like just a breed of creature. Whatever breed of creature they are and we've had hundreds of houses like those in the past, like a breed of creature that just destroys whatever's in that area. Like that would make so much sense for Oddfellow to just get like a little crate, a little cage, just unleash him and just walk back out and just like whistle, like, I don't know what happened. I don't know how they got there. Like, I just think this is such a cool concept, and this is like this zone. I mean, this whole thing. Like, I cannot believe they're adding so much lore to not only this event but previous events. That's just insane.
Mm. Anyone else thoughts on Shipyard 32?
Yay.
Oh, okay.
That one truss someone pointed out on Twitter, I wish I had saved it. It looks like a crane. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, crane, shipyard. Makes a lot of sense.
An interesting prop. I need to see more. Again, I'm just excited that Oddfellow is intertwined in all of the zones. So still optimistic, but kind of on the lower end of my list.
Fair.
I think the 1940s San Francisco could have like a film noir type vibe. It could. I think it'd be pretty cool here. I'm hoping anyway. I'm hoping that's what we get here. It could be really cool.
I did notice something on the art, which I don't know if it actually means anything or whatnot, but there is a specific symbol, not the main one that's in all the art, but there's like a different symbol that is shared between this zone and the Blood Moon art. And I don't know what that means, but maybe these things are linked somehow, or there's something linking all the houses and zones. I'm not particularly sure, but it definitely was an interesting find because I didn't notice that symbol in any of the other arts besides those two things.
Yeah, I have no idea what that could mean. Does it mean anything? Who knows? But it seems like it would. Like, that doesn't feel like an accident, right?
Mm-hmm. It feels purposeful. I have no idea how Blood Moon connects to Shipping Yard, but I'd like to find out. It could add more depth to both of these things. So hopefully we find out it during the season.
All right, moving on. Last but not least, who wants to take this one?
I guess I will. So we are going to go to the long-rumored Vamp 69 Summer of Blood. At a 60s music fest in a small New York town, you'll jam to popular bands, including the Pacific Sandals, with fellow concert-goers until Dr. Oddfellow unleashes vicious vampires on the audience. They're out for your blood. Some tidbits you got from the podcast was the background music is all classic 60s. Shocker. There will be a quote-unquote vamp that you can find. His name is Erlo Wolf. That's actually Oddfellow in disguise. And Alato, who is kind of like the head of this group of vamps, will be sacrificed by Oddfellow for his blood. I will say some of this isn't known if it'll appear in the zone, but it ties into this story completely. So thought we'd include it just to be safe in case it is in there. And there, if you go listen to the podcast, specifically the one about Oddfellow, the Vamp 69 zone has the most going on. Alato, the vamp narrating, they have so much to do with Oddfellow and his history. They even do things that tie back to the Vampire kind of series. So Castle Vampire, Vampire Bloodbath, and also Blood Masquerade, specifically from Bloodbath's club, ties into this story, meaning that Vamp and Vampire are actually all one series. So that's really cool. Just kind of the lore building going on intensifies with this Vamp series. So
yeah,
definitely go listen to that.
To piggyback off of that, one thing they mentioned on the podcast is that you're going to find Easter egg characters from the previous vamps. So, in different stages of their life. So, if like a character from Vamp 55 is you're gonna if you're looking closely, you'll see them in this, or a character from like a young version of a character that you saw in Vamp 85 will be in this. So they're definitely gonna be kind of like Easter eggs that throw back to the other Vamps for sure.
Mm-hmm. So how are we feeling about the zone as we will experience it?
I'm gonna admit I was hesitant because I was curious. You know, out of all the zones, obviously when you're reading it at first, it's like, oh, Vamp 69 is, you know, like it feels different from the other ones because the other ones are sort of like, oh, very tied into, you know, Oddfellow, and this one, just reading the description, it's like, oh, Oddfellow let some vampires out. It's like, oh, okay, they just needed, you know, they wanted Vamp 69 and they figured out a reason to, you know, throw out Oddfellow in here just to fit. But once you listen to that podcast, once I listened to that podcast, it opened my eyes, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is as a way bigger tie to Oddfellow than I realized, and that excites me. That, you know, makes me a lot more excited for this zone. I really liked Vamp 85. That's the only Vamp I was able to experience. I'm a little worried that even though it's a different era and different music, it's going to feel very similar to 85 just because of the way the stage is laid out. I guess it all depends on what type of show they do. But I don't know. I'm excited for it. It's not, it's probably like near the middle, you know, if I ever was make a, you know, list somewhere near there. But I think if they pull it off right, it could be a really fun zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's near the top for me just because I feel like the Woodstock kind of a vibe and Vamp. I get what you're saying, Jonathan. It can feel very much like 85. There's the stage, you know. We're not too sure like what everything else is going to look like right now. There's just a couple of tents up, but I just feel like the story and listening to that podcast, I was so invested because just the way that it was read and the perspective and everything, it was just really cool about how Oddfellow is Erlo and Olato was kind of just like there was kind of like a power struggle going on between the two of them. So I'm curious to see if we're going to see that in the zone. And I feel like there's just going to be like little vignettes going on if these actors get as invested as it seemed they were in like 55.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that that's kind of like what everyone said it was, is the actors are really what made these characters come to life.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I'm curious if they're going to give them all of that deep lore and kind of let them run with it, and I really hope that they do because that could make for Zone of the Year easily.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I'm a sucker for this type of stuff. I love the musical Hair and stuff like that.
Same.
I
Mike, it's a musical year for us.
It is.
We won.
I know. I'm super. I mean, I'm as soon as we're done recording here, I'm gonna go put on the greatest hits of the '60s, and to just think about what some of the songs that we're gonna hear in this zone. I'm super excited.
So, should we move on to our show, not shows?
Yeah.
Yeah, but our one show that they have listed on the site, you know, there could be, you know, obviously the stage in Vamp 69 looks like there's going to be like a mini show, like, you know, sort of like 85, something along those lines in terms of scale. But in terms of the big show, there's only one listed, and that is Nightmare Fuel Revenge Dream. And the description says, the show that sparked your darkest dreams has reignited. Get it? Because it's fire. Let your nightmares burn out. Oh my God. Burn out of control as the pyro and aerial performers fire you up. I can't read this. To the beat of metal and electronica. And basically, all we kind of got in the podcast was that there will be more fire and a different dreamer. And there's, I don't know, I will say the one positive of this is that it seems like it's a completely different show, not like last year's that was just like sort of a revamped versions of 30. This seems like, while following very much the same themes, it's going to have different things going on, which is fun. But with, like, I was always okay with this type of show if there was something else to balance it out, like Ghoulish, that very much did, in my opinion, until it went away. Once Ghoulish went away, it felt like shows were lacking because the only thing you could see was the super intense show. And unfortunately, it's the same case this year. The only show you're going to see is the one that isn't much a break from the event. It's just more, I don't know, intensity, more fire, more heat. And I don't know. It's not my thing, but I know a lot of people do like this show and these types of shows.
So I gotta say, nearly everything the podcast talked about, they got me more excited. This is the one a difference where I am now less excited, because I think Nightmare Fuel, the concept, and the talented performers are phenomenal. I just kind of got fatigued of seeing basically the same show 2 years in a row. But the like one quote we got from it was more fire. I don't want more fire. And a different dreamer, meaning we're going to stick to the dreamer storyline.
No.
Why not fully? We could have fully changed it and done something different, and it's still just a different dreamer. No.
I wish there was hate ice in this.
Oh, I have hate, and there will be ice in my veins. I mean, I think, again, I'm going to see the show, and I'm like, this is really cool. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. The performers are great. I don't know how many times I need to see the same exact type of show.
There should be like snow jugglers or something. I don't know. Give me something cold. I just please no more fire. Yeah. It hurts.
Tied into Dueling Dragons, fire versus ice.
And let me sit on the ice side of the theater. I'm hot. It's Florida.
Yeah, it's a painful experience.
It's not you, Nightmare Fuel. It's the weather.
Oh, right. That wraps up Orlando's announcements. Guys, let's hop right in because we still have a lot to cover. Mm-hmm. Tonight, when we are recording this, a couple of days after when you're listening to this, John Murdy had an amazing panel at Midsummer Scream, which, if you don't know Midsummer Scream, it's a huge horror convention in Long Beach, California. They had a bunch of other panels, but we're going to focus just on the HHN Hollywood panel. John Murdy came out and dropped a bunch of announcements, essentially. Mm-hmm. Let's get right into it.
I will say, to preface that, they did have announcements on Friday along with Orlando, and that was just the shared IPs of Universal Monsters Unmasked, Chucky Ultimate Kill Count, and The Exorcist Believer. So there were additional announcements. Well, there's multiple announcements. Yeah, multiple. Anyways, let's get into it.
Let's do it. Who wants to start with I would say the biggest bomb that he dropped?
Okay, I'll do it because I'm fucking hype.
I think we all are.
So they have announced. Yeah, we were watching and talking in the chat. It was just, oh my fucking god! Oh my god!
You're screaming.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Universal needs to announce everything like this for HHN. It's so fun.
It is.
So they announced the original that will be located in the Parisian Courtyard, which is Monstruos, the Monsters of Latin America. So he specifically looked back at like El Cucuy, La Llorona, and talked about how they have this long history at HHN Hollywood of focusing on these Latin American stories. And this is kind of the next chapter of that. This one, however, will not just be the story of one, but three. You're going to have Tlahuelpuchi, La Lechuza, and El Silbón, who are three creatures outside of spec season I'd never actually heard of, and these seem to be very regionalized stories. So it's going to bring to life... It's not like La Llorona where I knew the story, and I think quite a few others did. We're diving into something that's quite a bit deeper, and that's pretty exciting. So it is kind of going to break these down into, I should point out, he goes right into the house and breaks it down fully. So this one is very spoiler heavy. So if you were cool with what we talked about before and like details and story, you might not be with this one where we literally are going to go through scenes of the house. So just keep that in mind and decide whether you want to hear that or not. So the facade is going to be the Cemetery of the Lost. This is something that we've been looking at for quite a while, or at least half of it. It looks great. And we got a preview of what the whole thing looks like. It was phenomenal. This was inspired by graveyards in Guadalajara and Guanajuato. He also showed us the main character who will be also the narrator of this house. He's a grave digger who they will refer to as Muerte, or death, if you will. He's inspired by different depictions of death around the world. He will be outside basically what is a pre-show narrating the entire story of these three characters. Murdy also mentions that he will bookend the house. As is pretty common in houses in Hollywood, they're going to set scenes with like pictures or writing on walls to show you what's coming next. In this house, that'll be done by crypt paintings that were inspired by Oaxacan paintings. So here we're going to get into the actual scenes. So skip forward a couple minutes if you don't want to hear that. The La Huelpuchi scenes include him transforming, which he is a shapeshifter. That's a huge like kind of feature of his character. And that he also sucks the bloods of infants, which will be the next scene you experience. Which, if you've heard us talk about like La Llorona, that's something I enjoy when they do stuff like that. And I wanted them to bring it back. And sure enough, they are. I like when it gets super dark. And Hollywood likes to do that.
No.
Seems like it's even darker than some things in La Llorona. Like, just sucking the blood of babies is so dark.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I can't wait to see it in a haunted house because it's gonna freak the hell out of me, like in a good way. I love being like, if I can actually be disturbed in a haunted house, like, then they did their job.
Mm-hmm.
So this, like, if they pull it off right and it looks, like somewhat real, and not, like somewhat, like not just a obvious, like, doll. It's gonna just shake me to my core, and just like La Llorona did when it, like, the big monster was like eating children. So I cannot wait to not like to witness that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. John Murdy said that there are male Tawel-Puchis and female Tawel-Puchis,
Mm-hmm.
but we're going to focus on the female Tawel-Puchi. Correct? That's what he said?
He showed sculpts of both, so I believe both are going to be in the house.
Okay, so we're going to get both male and female iterations of this folklore character.
I think so. That's it. He did show a lot of the makeup concepts and like where the sculpts were at or where they were like recently. It was a lot of detail in there, and I'm really excited. Like the level that they're putting into this house alone, I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm. But next, we're going to move on to La Lechuza's representation in the house. And what we saw visually, I am so fucking excited. There will be a nest for La Lechuza. This will be a nest adorned by the bones of their victims. Also, there will be a massive animatronic of La Lechuza that they actually showed in scale with a human. I couldn't read what the heights or anything were, but it was a good few feet
Huge.
Taller than a human.
Yeah.
So,
Big girl.
It's super exciting. And then finishing off El Silbon, we're going to go into their village. So you're going to visit a pulqueria, which is kind of like a saloon, is the best way he described it. Yeah. And also a butcher shop next to it. So you can mix the pulque, which is like a cactus milk drink, and then some blood as well. So what they're going to do is at the pulqueria, basically El Silbón is going to drink pulque through these bar goers' navels. Yikes! And if you
Just
are,
doing tummy shots.
as was common in saloons, also at pulquerias, there will be womanizers. He's not just going to let you off that easy, if you want to call it easy. He will rip you limb from limb and keep your parts in the sack. Now we saw the sack. It's not a sack that you'd imagine.
It's a large
It's
sack.
like a fucking like a hobbit house. We will enter it. It is a sack that is so large that we will get to walk in and experience the sack.
I like that you called it a hobbit house because that's really what it looked
That's
like
what it
in
looked
the
like.
rendering. But yeah, it was just Murdy standing on stage in seriousness, just saying, "Yeah, you enter his sack." Just staring.
His large sack. His
large sack.
large sack.
Oh, I'm so excited.
But yeah, this feels a lot like vibe-wise La Llorona. The intensity levels are like La Llorona. Everything's just super depictive of gruesome images, and I cannot wait. I think I have a contender for my favorite Hollywood house ever, a contender for my most hyped house period for this year anywhere. I cannot describe how excited I am.
Yeah, one thing John Murdy specifically said is El Sabon likes to target drunkards and womanizers explicitly. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think this is going to be a fun portion of this house.
This house, if nothing else was announced, would still get me, encourage me to buy a ticket and go to California. Just the stuff he showed, the sets already look unbelievable. It's like they almost look like, I don't know, Scarecrow level sets with how detailed all the walls are and the stuff on them and all the things shoved in in the walls and stuff like that. They look incredibly detailed. This story looks phenomenal. The set pieces that were shown, and I mean, especially that La Lechuza nest looked like I couldn't even believe it with my own eyes looking at it. It's like, oh my God, they're gonna do this. This is incredible. I am so happy that this is happening, and I'm really also happy that it's not just La Lechuza, which was being rumored for a while. I'm happy that it's the three characters, and I can't wait to experience their stories.
And I think another big factor for me of why I'm so excited about this is he focused so much on how much inspiration they took from like real life settings. So visually, not only should this look amazing, but it should have this realistic feel to it, like it'll keep you grounded. And that's kind of the scariest thing, when it doesn't pull you away into a fantasy land. But it feels like it's a real occurring thing like La Llorona, and why that was so unsettling. And it feels like it can really replicate it here. But as usual, the Parisian Courtyard House will dump out into French Street. Well, there will be a scare zone. Who would like to talk about this awesome sounding scare zone?
Well, we didn't have Rosetta Stone lessons on how to pronounce these people.
Okay, Jess, would you like to take the next one?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I was looking at the one below it because okay, sorry. El Terror de las Momias on French Street. So it's inspired by 50s Mexican horror. So they created their own multiverse of fake movies. So translated, they are The Mummy That Couldn't Die, The Mummy versus the Undead Skeletons, Revenge of the Mummy, and yes, he did kind of do a little elbow at that one. Escape from the Mummy's Crypt, Blood of the Skeleton Queen, The Mummy versus the Skeleton Queen, and Village of the Undead. And as he kind of said these, he's like, the movies got worse and worse and worse, and at the end they said, just Village of the Undead, everyone's kind of there. And Muerte dug up an ancient Aztec burial site and unleashed undead warriors on the village, turning the villagers undead. So
this is going to visually be so cool.
It combines what's so great about the house and then adds in like cheesy B horror,
B-movie,
like
yes.
a la Slaughter Cinema. I cannot
so
wait. Oh my god, Hollywood! I knock you, but this sounds phenomenal in every
you're
way.
doing it. They're doing it right this year. I feel like everything is just so exciting.
Yeah, this zone sounds really fun, especially being dumped right into it. That's always like one of my favorite parts about this house location is that they can just expand the vibes of the house or the story depending with this zone. This seems like it's going to be funny. It's going to be fun. It's going to be immersive. I am assuming they're kind of going to go the same route with how it's laid out like they've been doing the past couple of years. But I hope that the videos, the music, the characters can make up for the setting that's probably gonna be laid out the relatively the same way. I am very excited for this zone, and I cannot wait to see it in person.
I'm so excited for this zone. And this house, the combo 1-2 is going to be so amazing. All right, let's move on to the last thing that he really deep dived into, and that is the Universal Monsters Unmasked announcement. John Murdy spent about 10-15 minutes deep diving into what we're going to see in at least their version of this house, and we talked about it earlier on the show. Let's do it. So the first thing that he said is that it's going to play tribute to Hunchback's 100th. And it's also Phantom is underground of the Paris Opera House. And so ours, it said it went into the Paris Opera House. In his, he says that we're going to be like underground of it, and Hunchback is also underground. So maybe we'll get a few different things from our house versus theirs. But he did go into the Invisible Man in Jekyll and Hyde, or in London, trying to like Jess said earlier, like running from a malpractice lawsuit or getting arrested. He also said that there was going to be a torture chamber. This is the part that I was most excited about. He talks about these real life places that I actually was aware of, called the Café del El Infer. It's basically like an inferno, like hell themed bar that really or like that really existed back in Paris or around the turn of the century. We're gonna get to see that kind of immortalized in this house, and then this other place called Theater. How do you pronounce this? I can't.
Guignol. I think Guignol.
Guignol.
Yeah, sorry, I always use a Spanish pronunciation. Guignol.
Guignol. Yeah,
I'm just as bad at French as Duff is.
Yeah, it's a theatrical, like a theater, like a kind of like the Moulin Rouge, but like more of a dark hell themed, like a Moulin Rouge. That's how I got the idea. It was like kind of like this theater. And then the facade is going to be the newspaper that tells the story, and the outside of it is there's going to be a booth that we've been seeing this booth for a while. We've been speculating what this booth would be, and it's actually this booth is a newspaper stand, right, Jonathan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For a while, a lot of people were saying ticket booth, and even Murdy kind of commented on that in the actual presentation, which I find quite funny. You know, we cover his tweets in particular pretty much every week, so to see him sort of comment on the rumors is quite fun.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of meta, John Murdy was definitely like almost like he listens to the show. he was throwing back to some things that we have mentioned, like the Murdy tweets. He was like literally talking about them in real time on the live thing we're talking about. He's like, so this spat that I got into with this person on Twitter, like he was literally referring to some of the Murdy updates that we had been talking about him being sassy on Twitter. Like it was very, very funny. And
it's an incredible moment. Like everything came full circle, from our Murdy tweet section to real life. It was
sassy Murdy.
Yeah, what was the big one, Jonathan, that you were just like, I saw that interaction. We talked about that on the show. We talked about it was the mausoleum, where someone was like, impossible. There's no such thing as a
two-story mausoleum.
Murdy was really upset about that. He brought it up like 3 times.
He was really
He's like, the guy was right. The guy was right. It was a 2-story mausoleum. We built a 2. He's like, I just want.
You know what grinds my gears?
Yeah.
I'm gonna admit, even with all this these house announcements, that might have been one of my favorite moments of the presentation.
Yeah. Anyway, back to we have a little bit more into on Unmasked. So he said that Madam Skellington is going to narrate the story, and he played a little clip. And her mortal state in the house is that she is the rat lady, and we actually got to see some photos and videos of this makeup. It is so good, so good. If you can't make it out into the Hollywood, definitely do yourself a favor and take a look at some of these photos. It is going to be really, really cool makeup and scenic design in this house over at the Hollywood. And I have a feeling that we're probably not going to get the same narration that over here. So he seems to be like this really close to his heart, where I think we're gonna some of these places like the Cafe del Infer. We're not necessarily going to get those in Orlando. That seemed to be more of a Murdy thing, where like Murdy nerding about history stuff that not necessarily we're going to get in Orlando.
Yeah, this is going to go back to old Universal Monsters houses where we kind of do the same thing, but they're not the same thing. Yeah. Murdy has his, Orlando has theirs, and otherwise they share a name. And it seems like that's what we're getting here.
For sure. And last but not least that he announced is that the music is going to be by none other. We've had it before, Slash. Slash is going to be doing the score of the Hollywood house. And he actually played like 2 minutes of a song. It was amazing. It was amazing. It's going to be so cool.
Slash always does great with these scores. And I mean, I couldn't be less surprised that he's doing it again, but I'm equally excited.
It fits so well. It's just like kind of you get like the throwback French feel with like the heavy metal guitar. It's just really, really cool.
I'm thinking this score just from like that song he played, which I assume in every other year he's played it, it's been the facade music. Like the music that plays right in the front of the house, I assume that's the facade music as well. It kind of sounds like an intro opener type thing. But like that song was great. I really hope that the music is more, me personally, obviously music is subjective and stuff, but is more impactful than it was in Legends. I feel like the music / Maiden Bride, like I felt that was really impactful. Legends, I kind of forgot it was there. But this opening score really like is selling it for me that this score is going to be something special. It sounded so great. Had a mix of themes while also, keeping obviously the Slash vibe going. I'm really excited to see how this house sounds because, I mean, for a house like this, I feel like music is going to be a really important part in helping just, I don't know, keep the tension, make it something grand and cinematic, and really make the monsters, like show these backseat monsters some love, which I'm really excited for.
Definitely. All right. I think we have basically covered everything from Midsummer Scream. No, actually, no.
There's
There's a
more.
main. We
There's
covered the
more.
main stuff.
Yeah, we covered the main stuff. Then he had like teased a few things.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and quickly go through the stuff that he kind of teased.
Yeah, so he shows a photo that at underneath basically is like, oh wait, you're not supposed to show this yet. This is for a later thing. Fun little tease, very Murdy. That is Project Eggplant Larry Larva, and it is a very like bug infected face, you could say, very reminiscent of Bugs Eaten Alive. But that's because that matches up very well with the rumored Terror Tram theme of exterminators. Which
it's fun.
A lot of Hollywood fans will be excited to see come to the event in the form of the Terror Tram. Very interesting concept for the Terror Tram. I'm very interested to see how that works out. If that's actually what it is, we'll see.
My brother and I were watching the presentation at once, and that picture came up, and he's like, "Bugs Eaten Alive! Oh my God, never forget Bugs Eaten Alive!" And it's, I never saw the original Exterminators. I really don't have any idea of really what it is besides the premise for Hollywood, but if it has any similar vibes as Bugs, I think that's going to be really fun. I think they could do fun things with those. The sets they have, they can by the Bates Motel, they put little sets and little show scenes. I think they could have really funny show scenes regarding like humans versus bugs. I think that could be great. And I love a Terror Tram that is focused on comedy rather than focused on seriousness. Just like I didn't love The Purge, but I loved Hollywood Harry's version because it was so goofy and silly. That's my type of Terror Tram. That's the thing I like. So it seems like it's going in that direction, which is a very good sign for me.
And then he also teased a couple other things. He actually showed us what Bride of Frankenstein in Hollywood looked like without a face mask on, as of course that took place in 2021, where scare actors were wearing face masks. So we got a full look at that. And he teased that we will be seeing Bride of Frankenstein and La Llorona in the park this year.
Yes.
Oh God.
So that
so excited.
is very cool. Also teased a murder of crows. You may know about the crows from last year. That has been added onto from the artwork he showed with this as well. Could this be a scare zone? Could these just be walk around characters of some sort? Not sure, but I'm pretty sure they're coming to the event this year in Hollywood.
I think it's a scare zone. He didn't quite say it, but it looked like he was alluding that the crows is coming back as a scare zone.
It kind of has that vibe for sure. It would make sense because after all these announcements, Hollywood still has scare zones to announce, potential show. We'll see if that happens. 2 houses and the Terror Tram. So Hollywood still has quite a bit to get through in their announcement season.
Please have the crows be the opening scare zone. That would be so funny. Like I love like people going into Hollywood. Like I can't like new people. I can't wait to see what HHN Hollywood has in store. And then it's just all these crows on these Stilt Walker crows that are really cool, but they're also like, huh? Like this is weird. Like I don't know. I'd like that. That'd be funny. The crow in the top hat deserves to be in the opening zone.
Agreed. And then I think he said something before all this at Midsummer Scream. Jonathan, what did John Murdy mention?
He basically like it wasn't anything direct, but he was really excited about Chucky. You can even see him get really excited about Chucky when we were in the area of the presentation where he was talking about the animatronic for La Lechuza. He got really excited about Chucky. During I realize you're referring to something else, but this is something else from Midsummer
We
Scream
don't
I
even
want to
need it
mention.
because we already talked about it, basically.
Exactly. But yeah, he's very excited, and when Murdy's excited about something, he that usually means the house is gonna gonna be pretty good, or at least to Hollywood standards. So I'm very happy about this because I was worried that Chucky was gonna be one of those IPs that Murdy didn't want to touch, because I get it. Chucky is a doll. It's hard to translate in a haunted house. Hollywood itself doesn't have the best effects, and it's a hard property to translate. But he seems excited. He kept mentioning it in the presentation a couple of times, and that makes my worries about their version of how they would interpret Chucky not go away completely, but it lessens them tremendously, because it seems like he has a lot of hope for the house.
And it's most exciting to me that he decided to specifically bring Chucky up while talking about the La Lechuza animatronic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, do with that.
He's already
as
mentioned
you will.
before. He's already mentioned before that the Chucky house will have the most special effects in in the event, in all the houses. So I wouldn't be surprised if if they can pull maybe a walking Chucky, or I don't know, what they would do with that potential animatronic, but there's so many possibilities. I am so ready. And prior to all of this announcement of Chucky and learning it's going to be meta, Murdy has consistently brought him up in his tweets. We have been following this story for it feels like months now. He is very much kept talking and making jokes and quips about this character. So I don't know. It gives me a lot of hope for this house.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you already had the hope, but I'm happy you have more.
I didn't have the hope for Hollywood.
Oh, okay,
I had hope, but
fair.
Hollywood, I was more scared.
Did anyone have anything else they wanted to discuss regarding HHN Hollywood before we move on to one last little thing? No? All right. So quickly going back to Orlando, of course, there have been construction updates. Follow us on TikTok at HHN365pod to really see all that. Really, all we got this week was some additional trussing. Jungle props went out, and some basic details to trusses in Dark Zodiac. Although I think the tents for VAM 69 are also new for this week as well, and the designs. So if you want to see that, it looks really cool. Go check it out on our social media, specifically our TikTok. We do construction updates once every other day. So go check it out. And really exciting before we say goodbye for this episode, our 2.5 hour episode. From when you are listening to this, or the day we release it at least, 31 days from opening night of HHN 32. And that is crazy.
Amazing.
Insane.
All right, we're going to skip voicemails for this week. If you left a voicemail, be sure to hear it for next week. We just had so much to cover, so we're going to skip that and go ahead and wrap up the show. As always, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN365, and TikTok at HHN365pod. We have an amazing Discord. The link is in the description. Check out our merch shop at HHN365.com, and always leave us a voicemail at 407-906-4134. And we'll see you in the streets.